question. How many half-used beauty products are currently living in your bathroom drawer? Too many, right? That's where U Beauty comes in. We test everything from supermarket finds to luxury splurges and tell you what's worth it. U Beauty, saving your skin and your wallet. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to a Mamma Mia podcast.
Hello, welcome to Well Australian Women. This is your full body health check. I'm Claire Murphy, and for the past few weeks we have been talking about perimenopause and menopause, and we've had tons of experts on to give us all the information that we really need for our own health. But we thought it was time to maybe gossip about peri a little bit. If you're a woman of a certain age, it's probably all in your group chats anyway. We're just bringing it to you podcast and vodcast-wise. So that is why we have invited journalist and author Shelly Horton into the studio. Hello.
Hello, let's gossip about Peri. Yes. I am your Peri Godmother. It is the perfect person to gossip with.
Exactly right. You are the author of The Peri Godmother. Mm-hmm. I first of all want to ask you, why write a book about perimenopause? What was the motivation?
It was not on my bucket list.
I don't imagine, like, as a 15-year-old, like one day.
Yeah, one day. Look, honestly, I wrote about it because I was so blindsided with my peri.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, and I think that's what a lot of people do. It's just like, I don't want this happening to other women, so I want to warn them. I also can tell you that I have had one of the worst peri experiences
you really have.
Of anyone I know. So I sort of describe it as I was at the top of the peri tree and hit every symptom branch on the way down.
You poor bugger.
So for me, there was a lot to tell and a lot to share and a lot of horror stories. And I also am really passionate about evidence-based information. But I found a lot of the menopause books were dry, like a vagina. I couldn't help myself, and neither could you. So I wanted to kind of have a rollicking good story with a bit of humour, a bit of horror, but evidence-based information so women can help themselves.
Amazing. And we have to preface this with, whilst Shelley's experience has been
horrific.
Every symptom known to man where it comes to
I haven't had frozen shoulder. It's like the only
silver
one.
linings. There are people who can cruise through this with little to no symptoms too. So whilst, Shelley's story is the extreme, there is also the extreme at the other end.
Yeah.
So we're going to try and talk about all of the spectrum of perimenopause today. But what I really loved in your book, Peri Godmother, is the way that the chapters are titled. Like, just really spoke to me, because I was like, I know exactly what this chapter is going to be about. So first of all, I'd like to start with the same way you have started your book, which is Welcome to the Shit Show.
Welcome to the Shit Show.
First of all, how did you first suspect that maybe the things you were experiencing were perimenopause and not just like other things?
I never suspected that it was perimenopause because I went into peri in 2020. And you might remember there was a little thing going on at that time, peri and pandemic, double P.
Yeah.
I had never heard the word before, not once. And I consider myself fairly informed. I've been a health reporter, for Christ's sake. Like, I can't believe I hadn't even heard the word before. I thought menopause was like 60-year-old ladies, grey hair, clutching the pearls, yelling at the kids to get off the lawn kind of thing. And they would have hot flushes and their period stopped. The end.
Yep.
I had no idea about this spectrum of symptoms. My mum hadn't spoken to me about it. She's very much of that generation of secret women's business, soldier on, don't scare the horses.
Yeah.
And I grew up in country Queensland. So I moved away from my hometown to work, So I haven't even got that close school friends, when you got all the same age and you're going through the same thing. So I kind of felt really sideswiped. So for me, my very first symptom was heart palpitations.
Right.
And I just thought it was either a heart problem or anxiety. And I'm like, it's a pandemic. Of course, everyone's feeling anxiety. I felt hotter, but not a traditional hot flush.
See, this is where I'm the same as you, because I have friends who have hot flushes to the point where my girlfriend's had to pull her car over on the side of a freeway and get out and strip off because it was like she thought she was going to die. But mine is just it's like my body's forgotten how to regulate my temperature.
Yeah, it's just like turned it up by 3 degrees. And that was kind of like, I thought it was just because I'd put on a bit of weight because I'd been eating a lot on the couch during the COVID. So everything seemed to be something I could pass off as something else. But then the two symptoms that really scared me enough to do something about it, first of all, is I started getting perimenopausal depression. Now, I didn't know what it was, but I was one of the very lucky people who at my age then was 45. I'd never really had mental health issues before. I had
So
written
you knew
about
that this
it.
was very much out
It was
of
out
your
of
norm.
character.
Yeah.
Absolutely. To the point where I was like crying at least once a day. And I'm a pretty bubbly person. But again, pandemic, maybe everyone's doing that. I put up with that for months and months and months and months. And then it was only when, and I love my IUD. I've had it replaced 3 times. And I had terrible periods when I was growing up. And the IUD meant that I had not had a period for 12 years. So it was like, oh.
You're right.
But then in September, I got what I describe as an Armageddon period. I'm dressed as a period today. So it's
She
appropriate.
does have the most fabulous red outfit on, but we have been discussing how you do resemble a blood clot.
Yeah. I'm on theme. But that period, so my first period in 12 years, I bled through my clothes.
Wow.
And that was where I'm like, oh,
Something
I
ain't right
better
there.
see a GP. And again, in my brain, what have I done to myself? Like blaming myself for it. So I went to the GP, and I happily admit that I'm a bit of a tight ass. I don't have a family doctor. I just go wherever there's bulk billing.
You're not. You're
And I
not
know a lot
unusual
of
here in
people do
Australia.
that, right?
Yeah.
And so when I went in and I presented with my symptoms of feeling hotter, feeling depressed, and extreme bleeding, the GP had not been educated about perimenopause either, which I know you've talked about on your show before. And she's like, oh, bleeding with an IUD could be cancer.
Oh, okay.
What?
That's scary.
What? As if I'm not going to spiral. And then...
And if you're suffering perimenopausal depression, does that then play into your mental health
Of
too? Being
course
told
it
things
does.
like that?
Anxiety and depression go hand in hand. And it was COVID. So for me, I had to go to hospital for an internal ultrasound with everyone wearing masks. It was just horrific. I went back to see her a couple of days later for my results. She's like, great news. You haven't got cancer. Your blood tests are all normal. You're just not handling your stress well. Maybe you should take up a hobby.
Oh, that is code for it's all in your head.
Yeah,
Right.
And so I, again, just started crying, which was sort of my go-to for everything around then, and blamed myself for not coping. And, you know, I grew up in country Queensland where doctors are gods and you don't question what they say. I didn't think to get a second opinion. I didn't even enter my head. I just thought this is my fault for not coping.
Well, we're all like that because you're right. Doctors are gods. And if they tell you that this is what's wrong with you, they are more educated in this area than what I am. So I have to believe that what they're telling me is the truth. Right?
Absolutely. So that meant that it was a long time until I actually saw another doctor. And unfortunately for me, my symptoms just got worse and worse. And the depression particularly got to the point where I was having days I couldn't get out of bed. I didn't want to go to work. I wanted to quit my job, and I love my job on Channel 9. I'd go in, get my hair and makeup done.
You sparkle for a bit.
Debate the news of the day and go home. Whereas during this time, I would go in terrified, feeling like I was a fraud. You talk about imposter syndrome on the show all the time, but this was beyond imposter syndrome. This was a banshee screaming in my ear of, you just embarrassed yourself on national TV. Your parents will be ashamed of you.
No.
You should quit your job before you get fired, because you imagine how humiliating it would be to get fired. Like, that's how loud it was in my head. And I drove home one time, and you don't ever tell anyone those horrible things are in your head.
I know that
We
you're
don't
supposed
share-
to.
Well, you're supposed to, but you don't.
But you don't, yeah.
I didn't even tell my husband, but I got home that day and I was almost hysterical sobbing. And I said, I need to quit my job. I'm just not good at it anymore. I can't do it. He's only known workaholic me. And he knew that this was major alarm sounds.
He's like, this is not what this lady is
No.
normally like. Yeah.
And so he sat me down, and my husband's named Darren, and the rest of you can call him Earth Angel because Daz.
Your Earth Angel, okay.
He sat me down and he said, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with you, but there might be something wrong with the chemicals in your brain. So why don't we see someone together?
Darren.
Isn't that the most beautiful thing ever?
Bless him.
I don't even know how he found those words. I've asked him, I'm like, how did you know to say that? He said, I had to be so gentle with you because you were being so mean to you.
Yeah.
He's like, I just wanted to cotton ball you. And so he came with me to my next GP appointment, and luckily that GP was educated and just went, this is perimenopause and we can fix it. And
How did you feel walking away from that then? Like, as opposed to
I cried.
you might have cancer and then you cry and then you're like, this is fixable.
I felt a lot of shame that I didn't know about it.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
And so I
Yeah.
felt shame about that. I felt shame that I'd let it get so bad. And very, very tearful. Again, she put me onto HRT or MHT, whichever you choose to describe it, and an antidepressant. And I'd never been on an antidepressant before. Oh my goodness, I support Are You OK Day. I write about depression. And yet when it was me sitting with that little box of pills, oh my God, the searing shame that I felt. And it was all in my head saying, you've done this to yourself.
Is it because we have a societal idea on who the people are who take antidepressants? Is it...
I've never judged anyone for taking antidepressants. I encourage people to if they need it. But when it was me, it felt like a failure. And it was like, I've done this to me. I've created this drama. And in fact, it was just perimenopause.
It's just estrogen.
It's just estrogen,
That's
you
it.
know?
Simple.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
Or a horrendous lack thereof, yes.
Hello, friends. It's Holly Wainwright jumping into your ears, not literally, that would be weird, to tell you about the next season of Mid and how it's all about you. You see, over the last 5 seasons, we've talked about everything on Mid, from marriage and divorce to hormones and fashion and sex and grief, you know, life, right? And we've had so much feedback from you about your own messy middles that we have decided to make a season all about that, about you and the challenges that you're facing. The next season of Mid is all about dilemmas and wisdom and sharing both those things. And I am phoning in my friends to help. Hopefully, we're going to sort it out. And me and my more qualified mates, we are really going there. Mid, Conversations for Gen X Women Who Are Anything But, is back in your ears with your questions on Tuesday, July 15th.
Well, then let's move on to the next chapter, which is symptom bingo. And this is, for me, I didn't realise what were symptoms until I looked back on it retrospectively. So for me, it started off with skin. So I ended up with horrible, dry, leathery, like an old
Itchy?
handbag. Itchy.
Yeah.
And in some spots, like the under boobs, it got red raw. Like it was really bad. And I was seeing skin people and I was putting stuff on it and I was trying every trick that I thought would overcome dry skin. Nothing was working. My poor husband is like, I'm having him apply things to bits of me because I can't reach it. And it was awful and itchy and sad and dry. And then I think it was about 44, I just got a UTI. Never had one before in my life.
Right.
That's
a sign.
I went to the GP.
Because you're not a teenager.
I'm not
You're
a
not having
teenager.
lots of sex.
I'm
It's
not.
what's going on?
My GP said to me, you do know you have to wipe from front to back.
Are you freaking kidding me?
And I was like, look.
How offensive is that?
I know. And I was like, look, I know you're saying this out of concern that I don't know how to
freaking wipe myself.
do my own hygiene routine. I said, but this is my first ever UTI and I'm 44. Do you think maybe that it might be something else? And he was like, here's the antibiotic.
Bye-bye.
That'll fix it. And then I got another one and another one to the point where I nearly passed out in a public toilet because the pain was so intense as I was waiting for the chemist to fill my prescription. And I was like, what is happening to me? And then for me, not depression, but anxiety.
Yeah.
And same thing with work. I would go to do my job and I'd go to open my mouth and it was like everything would restrict.
Yeah.
And it's like
And you're judging
squeezing.
yourself.
Yeah, squeezing everything tightly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, who is this person? Because I don't recognize me. The one that sent me off the rails, and this might be too much information. I feel like you're not a TMI gal, but
Never.
I was having sex with my husband. I orgasmed and thought my brain was going to fall out. It was like my brain had split in half. The pain was so intense. I had no idea what was happening to me.
A stroke kind of feeling.
Almost like I thought, this is it. I'm having a
aneurysm.
head aneurysm. I'm having some kind of stroke. And then like my poor husband is like beside himself. He's like, what is
have I
happening?
done?
What do
I
I
broke
do?
you.
Yeah. And I took myself off to the doctor and he said, that sounds like a thunderclap headache, and then he sent me for an MRI. Everything is fine.
Wow.
And then it happened again when I was exerting myself some other way. I can't even remember what it was. And I was like, oh, this is happening again. And then it happened again doing something else. I'm like, this is not right, but I've had all the scans and everything is fine. So I don't know what's happening. And then I was sitting on the couch one day and it's like the whole world tipped upside down, like vertigo.
Oh,
and I was like, what? What the hell?
Oh, my goodness. So my girlfriends who've had vertigo are just like, I can't even work.
You know,
it's like you lie on the couch and you hold on to it so you don't fall off.
Exactly. It's like being on a ship out at sea.
Yep.
Everything is unstable. And luckily it only came and went in like small bursts. But it was like I had convinced myself I have a brain tumour even if the scan did not pick it up. I was like, this is it for me. It's all over. They'll find it too late because I've already done all the tests and it's fine. Then someone said to me, perimenopause. I was like, what? And I went to my GP and I said, can you test my hormones? And he goes, what's the point of that?
Yeah, doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything. And I was like, well, how do I know? And he goes, you're not in menopause. And I was like, no, I know. I still get my period. I get that. And then we had this big fight about it and he sent me on my way with a pill to deal with night sweats. And I had to go via someone else to get a prescription for MHT.
Yep.
And literally within 2 months, I had almost none of those symptoms.
Yeah.
At all. So let's talk symptom bingo with you. How many do you reckon you can tick off the list? There are others which I forget and because like brain fog and now I forget things.
Is the worst for me.
It's
just forgetting words.
Words, names I'm terrible at.
I've never been good with names and now it's worse. But now at least I can go, brain fog. Not my fault.
So tell me about your symptom list.
Mine was unusual in that once I knew what perimenopause was, I kind of then spoke to my mum who finally talked about her experience.
Oh, see, my mum still says, what? I don't think I had menopause.
Oh, no. I mean, with my mum's permission, tell a story about her as a primary school teacher in a small country town where she was teaching grades 2 and 3. And you know those moulded plastic chairs? Mm-hmm. So she's sitting on that teaching the class and then the chair just filled with blood. And they didn't have mobile phones then. So luckily she could reach the phone on her desk, the landline, and she rang hoping for the secretary and, of course, got the elderly male principal and just said, it's a medical emergency. And he was the hero of this story, which I'm so happy to share because his wife had been through it. So he just marched down to her classroom and said, guess what, grades 2 and 3? We're going bird watching. Everyone follow me. So they left and then the secretary was there with towels to like mop. There was that much blood. They were mopping it up. And because we grew up in a country town, Mum got to go home and have a shower and then come back to school.
Again,
But I'm like, you could have shared that with me earlier. Thanks, Mum. But mine was quite different to my mum's. I didn't have those traditional hot flushes. I had some hot flushes, but for me, they were triggered by anxiety. So I'd be hotter all the time and then the full anxiety, whoosh, particularly doing live TV.
Oh, my God.
Which is my
the
favourite
adrenaline's
thing
already
to do,
pumping.
right?
Yeah.
But like I wear my Apple Watch and my heart rate doesn't even go up doing live TV. I've been doing it for 30 years. And it's like my brain didn't remember that excitement and anxiety are different things.
Yeah, right.
So it would just trigger a flush.
Yep.
My mum went bald, like lost so much of her hair. She's actually had a hair transplant. I have so much hair that it felt like a doona on my head. I actually, for about 3 years, had an undercut under my
Just to lighten the load.
Just to lighten it. So flushes, then definitely weight gain, definitely the perimenopausal depression and anxiety was next level. And then I think heart palpitations were very bad, but then the heavy bleeding just kicked me to the ground. And in my last year before I actually had an ablation, I bled for 42 weeks out of 52.
Whoa.
And they weren't like day one all the time. It was just like constant spotting and then heavy periods. But then I had 6 weeks where 6 weeks every single day was like day one. And I was so anemic and exhausted and crying and still trying to do my job, razzle dazzle. And I was just done. It's like stick a fork in me, I'm done. So it's funny. There are still lots of symptoms that I didn't have, but I feel like the ones I did have were turned up to 11.
Yeah, right. So the ones you got bad.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that there is a list, and the number I keep reading of perimenopause symptoms seems to fluctuate, but we're somewhere between 30 and 40 odd, I think.
It seems to be going up every month.
It does.
It's a little bit overwhelming, but I think my biggest advice to women is to look at yourself as a whole person and look at all of the symptoms as, is this my normal? And my biggest thing is, I just didn't feel like me.
Yeah.
And I think if you're saying that to yourself, or who am I, or I just don't feel right, then it's time to do some investigating.
The thing is too, it can start earlier, but if you're experiencing a whole bunch of stuff and you're around 44, 45, 46, then it has to come into consideration, right? Because
Now that we know about it,
now that we know about it, that is when we start to think, hang on a minute, all of these different things could actually be one thing.
Yeah.
Parenting podcasts can be a bit earnest. Parenting Out Loud is not that podcast.
This person who I may not agree with politically is trying to talk about integrating children, not just into his professional life, but into public life.
I have referred to myself as one and done. That article did make me rethink the term.
It took about 11 seconds for this to go viral.
Oh God, is this the ejaculate one? That is deranged and I love it.
Parenting changes the way you see everything. Parenting Out Loud takes the big conversations of the moment and puts them through that filter.
Because if parents are thinking about it, we're talking about it.
Parenting Out Loud. Listen weekly wherever you get your podcasts.
Okay, so I feel like we've covered off on bleeding hell, which is one of the other chapter titles.
What do I call it? The whack-a-mole of bleeding hell.
Whack-a-mole of bleeding hell and the mental health mayhem. Yeah. I think we've talked about that as well. But there is a chapter entitled Work It, Baby, which really struck a chord with me because I have worked, and I didn't understand it at the time, but I have worked with older women in newsrooms around the country, and I have seen the changes in them in their ability to be able to handle those stressful situations. And then I've also got a friend from a newsroom who essentially kind of lost her job because she wasn't handling it well, and there was not a lot of discussion about perimenopause. She knew that it was coming, but she didn't know how to navigate that in the workplace. And so I'd love to get your take on how we can better support women while we're working who are also going through something that can throw your mental ability to do your job completely out the window. I've had a friend who's had to take like a 6-month sabbatical because her brain fog is so bad, she can no longer keep her diary in check. Like, what do we do for women to help them through that?
I go into workplaces and educate them about this because, you know, if I'm going to get an issue, I'm going to go hard with it. So I've campaigned in Parliament. I created a company that goes into workplaces and educates people because I am evangelical. That's what I am. I have found the Peri Lord.
She is a preacher of the Peri.
That's right. So I'm all about education and choice. So there are some women who will not want to go into HRT, MHT, and that's fine. But I don't want people to not go onto hormone replacement therapy because they're afraid of breast cancer. So we need to take that style reaction to hearing HRT, MHT and make sure that we're not associating it with breast cancer. Of course, get your checks done, speak to your GP, but don't be afraid. So for me, getting that education and getting everyone on the same page. We need men and women educated about this, not just women. I never blame men in the workplace for not understanding it because we barely understand it.
Yeah.
But this is where I see perimenopause and menopause in the workplace as what mental health was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You would never talk about depression or anxiety at the workplace 10 years ago. Now it's like we have Are You OK Day. So we've got to start using the right words. We've got to remove the shame and stigma. Once you get that education out there and let women know, it's actually gets down to that frustrating bit of you've got to help yourself.
Yes.
You also have to make lifestyle changes, and that is a non-negotiable. So when I'm teaching about it, it's not one or the other.
Yeah,
it's
not
both.
like get on HRT and all your problems are solved. That is not the case.
The other thing is making sure that workplaces understand that if something like brain fog is particularly bad for you, not to have a technical meeting at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. If you need to be really sharp, have those meetings in the morning. That's not a big deal for workplaces to do.
Yeah.
If everyone in the workplace is educated, that's when you support each other. So you can actually say, Jane, my brain fog is really bad. If I forget the client's name, just jump in for me. And you can jump in for each other. And that's actually teamwork, you know. I think that period products should be in every workplace. And I think
They are here at Mamma Mia, like abundantly.
as they should be.
Yeah.
But they're not everywhere. But we have tea and coffee. Like, it costs more to have tea and coffee than to have period products there. And I had one workplace that I was, giving a chat to, and they're like, oh, but women will steal the tampons. I'm like, you don't understand. I've been in nightclubs and given my last tampon to a girl who needed it.
Yeah.
This is the sisterhood. And for me, when Channel 9 did put period products, which was only like 2 years ago, into all of their bathrooms, I walked in and went, oh,
Did you cry again?
I felt like crying. I felt like crying. I didn't cry. The antidepressants were working.
Thank God for that.
But it is important because particularly with Peri, you might go 5 months without a period and then, like me, get an armageddon period and not be ready for it. So having those just takes one less thing on your to-do list to help you. And then another thing that I really encourage is having a workplace menopause policy. And I know that sounds very boring of me. However, I think menopause workplace policies should be living, breathing documents with clickable links. So therefore, if you are at that workplace, go and have a look at the policy, click the links, read the research, see what's happening. It needs to be updated at least every 6 months because then it's an education tool as well. So to me, education and getting women to help themselves and help each other is vital. Also, have a free, easily accessible communication tool that women can opt into just to share some stories. Because sometimes, you know what? All you need is another one of your sisters to go, oh, that must be awful. Oh, you didn't sleep? No, I totally get it. Sometimes that's all you need.
If there's one thing we do well here at Mamma Mia is office chat about all things.
All things.
Like if the word vagina is not mentioned 18 times a day in this office,
It's like,
then something's
what's
wrong.
wrong?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Yeah.
Something bad's happened. Okay, let's talk about a chapter you've entitled Menopausal Zest.
Yeah.
Because this I find really interesting. When I realised I was perimenopausal, there is a reckoning. You have to now understand that you are at that stage of life, which we have often been told is when women just kind of disappear off the face of
what
the
they
earth.
used to do.
And now I've got women who are a decade ahead of me here, like Holly Wainwright and Mia Friedman, and they've certainly not disappeared off the face of the planet. In fact, they're as sparkly as they've ever been.
Yeah.
So how do we help when we've reached this point in our lives and we feel like, okay, so my baby making years are done. Am I still important? Do I still need to be out there and do I still need to achieve things in life? How do we keep the zest for life when our ovaries and brain stop chatting?
Ovaries over broveries. Yeah. So I am so excited about menopausal zest. Like, I think I'm nearly there. I won't know because menopause is defined as 12 months without a period. I've had an ablation. I don't have periods anymore. So therefore, I won't know. But all of my symptoms are kind of better now. And I'm like, ooh, I think I'm nearly there.
Are we on the other
I
side?
know, nearly. Oh. So menopausal zest was actually a term coined by Margaret Mead, who's an anthropologist in America. And it actually had a great study that showed that once women got past the baby-making years, past the perimenopausal hell, and our hormones kind of cruised along, there was like this, we don't care anymore. And they stepped into their own. And one of the funniest things that was mentioned in the study was, one, women quitting their jobs or starting a new job or a side hustle that was what they've always wanted to do, but they didn't feel like they could. Not putting themselves last, it's like husband, kids, parents, the dog, then you.
Which might also be why some divorce rates spike.
I'm sure it's 100% that.
Yeah.
And you know what? And some of it's because that guy's a jerk and you shouldn't be there anyway.
Yep.
But there is this new sense of self-worth. And you've been through the Peri War and you now have come out and it's like you've got your battle scars And I love that. So I call it giving zero fucks. Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm feeling that as well. I was such a people pleaser before and a perfectionist. And now I see those as such negative traits. And I feel like when I'm like that, I'm actually letting myself down, which is interesting. And I also feel like now it's not the end of your life. It's the middle. It's the peak where it's time for you to make some big changes and grab it by the ovaries and give it a shake and go, what do I really want? Like, what do I want?
Can I just say something I really struggled with, which I wasn't expecting, is no longer being in the male gaze.
Oh, I so don't care about that.
I wish I didn't care at the time, but it
Yeah.
really impacted me, and I had to really think that through because I never thought of myself as someone who did care about that.
Yeah, interesting.
But then when perimenopause hit, and when you add the word menopause to anything that
aging.
Aging, it is like I see a different person in the mirror now because I'm not this young, fertile person who is out there
looking
hoping
for a mate.
that men find me attractive, even if I'm not looking for a mate. Like there's some validation I was getting from that.
Yeah, I wonder if you and I are different in that I've never wanted to have kids. That I've been child-free by choice my whole life and never even had a scare. You know, like never.
Yes. On
It's
your radar.
never been on my radar. So mating, no thank you. And also, I'm going to sound like a wanker, but I still feel sexy. I've got massive cans, right? And they just got bigger.
I mean,
in
that
theory.
helps.
And to me, oh my God, the thought of going back to dating is like a horror movie.
Yeah, look, I have come to terms with the fact that is the wrong way that I was looking for validation, is finding it in men. And now
Find it in your girlfriend.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Definitely find it in my girlfriends, but also too, like, I've realized now that I can look like whatever the hell I want to look like, because I've been told this. We have so many stories on mamamia.com.au about how Gen Zs have this expectation of how millennial women and Gen Xs are supposed to look.
Yeah.
And like, don't wear skinny jeans and don't have a side part. And
I'm going to wear my socks up. Blah,
wear
blah,
your
blah.
socks however.
I don't give a fuck.
Exactly, right? So you do, and you have opened one of the Australian chapters of the We Do Not Care Club, which I love, where you do get to zero fucks, Zil. And it is so freeing to put on whatever it is you want to wear that day, wear your hair however the hell you want, pull your socks up, put them down, whatever, and then just go outside and feel really good about it.
Yep.
And like even just today when I met you in the lobby, I'd just been out walking in the city streets and just admiring people. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, look at that amazing outfit that person has. Or look at like the judgment, I think, even coming from me to other people has changed as well as coming into me.
Do you know what I've started doing? Complimenting strangers in the street.
I love that.
Yeah. And you know what? I think, again, because I'm not judging people poorly.
Yeah.
So I live on the Gold Coast and I was just walking one morning and this woman walked past with the most divine perfume on. And I backtracked and said, excuse me, I just wanted to tell you, you smell delicious. Have a great day. And she was like, oh, you've just made my day. And I'm like,
so lovely.
10 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. Well, 10 years ago, I lived in Sydney and she would have thought I was a serial killer.
She probably would have hit you with her handbag. That is cool. I love that. And you're right when it is a bit of a sisterhood now, because especially if you do have girlfriends of around the same age and you are starting to experience things, it's nice now that we're having these conversations with each other and really building each other up to get back out and grasp the world by the ovaries.
Yeah.
Because you are still a human being who deserves to live on this planet and
Absolutely.
do whatever the hell you want.
I refuse to be invisible. That's not going to happen. What I do choose is when I'm visible, I'm very visible. And when I need downtime, I have my 0 days and I just chill out. So for me, instead of being on all the time to please everyone, I'm on when it pleases me.
I love that.
And that's kind of nice.
Shelley, thank you so much for gossiping about perimenopause with me today.
You're very welcome.
I
had to do it. I had to.
And just snaps for Daz, your husband.
I know.
Please go and give him a big squeeze from us. Men, if you're hearing this, support your ladies through this time. It is not easy. And with your support, it would just be a little bit easier. And your
be a
boss
team.
too. Be a team. Get your girls together. But thank you so much. I've loved this chat. If you have not got it, get a copy of Peri Godmother. It is very eye-opening. Shelley shares a lot, but like in the best possible way.
My psychiatrist recommends my book to her patients but says it's a little bit salty. A little bit salty.
Bless. Shelley, it has been so lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for coming on to Well and sharing your story.
Is it wrong to say, I love you?
No, I love you too. And you look divine and so sparkly, and I love that necklace.
A big bloody clot.
Yeah. Giant blood clot. Amazing. Thank you. So this conversation shares personal experiences and general information only. It's not medical advice. If symptoms are affecting you, make sure you speak with your GP or your qualified health professional about options for your situation. If you are experiencing severe symptoms like heavy bleeding, chest pain, or a sudden severe headache, seek urgent care. And if you're struggling with your mental health, support is available too. Reach out to the team at Lifeline 13 11 14 or hit up Beyond Blue. Shelly Horton's book is called Peri Godmother. It is fabulous. We'll put a link to it in our show notes if you'd like to check it out. And of course, Well is produced by me, Claire Murphy, our senior producer, Sally Best, with audio production by Scott Stronick, video production by Julian Rosario, and social production by Ellie Moore.
Mamma Mia acknowledges the traditional owners of the land we have recorded this podcast on, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay our respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures.